Wurundjeri, Director of NTC Architects.
Nick Walls, Director of NH Architecture. First, I'd like to start by acknowledging the Wurundjeri and the Wurrung people traditional on the land on which this project was done and relying on today, and obviously acknowledge them as the custodians of this land.
This project is about delivering gold standard mental health outcomes for consumers in response to the recommendations of the Royal Commission into Victoria's mental health system. This project is a program of works. It's one of 4 projects that we're delivering. It's a $492 million project that is being administered by the Victorian Health Building Authority, our client. We're delivering 120 new acute mental health beds. The aim is to increase bed capacity, reduce pressure on emergency departments, and provide additional support for people experiencing mental health and who need immediate care. These are the images of the existing mental health facilities. This is what the Royal Commission is trying to change. We are looking at non-therapeutic external spaces, very much internalised dark spaces, limited views to the outside, limited access to the outside, looks and feels institutional, and it's not home-like. The project is incredibly complex. From the findings of the Royal Commission's lived experience input, there's a vast array of principles that we have to navigate. Some of them, the key ones are gender safety, designing for safe environments, recovery focused, providing consumer autonomy, intuitive wayfinding, designed to minimise self-harm, and designed using co-design, key thing.
So, obviously that's a lot of words. There's a lot more words available if you want to dive into these projects. But what does it mean architecturally? What do we as architects first do, and how does it paradigm change the building type? So obviously co-design alongside people who actually have been in and out of these facilities is incredibly important. Destigmatise the actual mental health in itself. So where is the site located? How's it addressed? What's it look like? To people who aren't going to access it is incredibly important. Access to light seems silly, but actual light for everyone, everywhere, in their experience within that building. Be spatially legible, so actually knowing where you are in the world at any given time is almost impossible in a health environment. You've been to big hospitals, but imagine even more so if you're in a mental health state. Not knowing where you are in the world is incredibly difficult, and so these projects work to fix that. And obviously, home-like and domestic, we're still struggling to find a better word for that, but it's the idea that you can feel comfortable there. So the first part is the site. So this is on the Northern Hospital site, Epping. It's a big, sprawling, single-level site. It has a recent power down, actually by Lines, which is the acute physical health hospital. And the mental health is at the rear. It is a typical panopticon design where it's all internal spaces with cell-like external gardens with forming high walls around it. The first thing for our project was to master plan, and we master planned to put it, although an incredibly challenging site from an urban point of view, but on the front car park opposite the main entrance. The idea being, the first thing that destigmatising is bringing it to the fore, bring it to the front, and talk about it and normalise it next to an acute tower.
One of the key outcomes from the Royal Commission was that this program is to be delivered using co-design, using people that have lived experience. Therefore, the project delivers evidence-based designs and are recovery-focused, promoting well-being for all occupants, the consumers, their carers, their families, and staff. You mustn't forget the staff because they get put through quite a bit. The bedroom and en-suites are very critical places that we have designed. These are the spaces where consumers are left unattended. One of the 2 spaces that are left unattended, and where most self-harm can occur. We built a full-scale modular prototype, which was inspected and rigorously tested by us, the health services, by the department, and also a raft of key stakeholders, WorkSafe, Coroner's Office. We tested it for robustness, ligature opportunities, services reticulation is incredibly important, and joinery design. We had people jumping up and down on the desks, for example. And we used the real finished materials, so it could all be tested properly.
Those in 3 minutes, and try and race through as fast as I can. It's a very complex thing in a short amount of time. One of the big outcomes also was that it's changing to small cohort design. So think about this as 6 apartments, between 5 and maximum 10 people per apartment, with 3 staff members. So really small populations, but they need access to everything. So it actually starts talking about an architecture which is very different to the architecture where it was previously big wards, big efficiency. It's all about how do you actually stack up a very homely environment with all the institutional support that a type A hospital needs. So what we start to see in the planning, I'll use this one, is that it starts to become about putting the bedrooms in the best place for access and light and view, creating views out in long view and locational elements within that plan, and making sure that everyone has access directly to a courtyard and a living space that can see across and no one else. It's almost like, you know, courtyard house stacked up. What that meant was that we ended up having this idea of having to cascade and get light to a multi-level courtyard plan, and that really started to drive the architecture. So carving out a deep health plate, let's carve it back, let's actually change it to something quite domestic. And it started to then really drive the studies we did about how the plan would work based on solar access and solar planes. And when you start to see that in reality, you start to get these spaces which are actually delightfully complex. In the background you can see the sports court, which is the first of type. We've never done a sports court in mental health, we've done it here. Sprung floor obviously, so it doesn't annoy people. Views into family rooms, other rooms, but also the idea of gardening as both something which is an amenity visually, but also starts to become what we call here the therapeutic edge. That's an edge that can be planted out. If the plant dies, it doesn't matter, we still have it. But the other thing that's really important is also the idea that, you know, when you're in the space, you can see the long view, you can see where you are, you can see people circulating, and on both levels, the idea that we've dematerialised that fencing system. We need that from security and from a safety point of view, but how do you actually change that stigma from being a big wall to something you can see through? That's my timer. But equally, those spaces, which might seem prosaic, like a hallway, starts from a place for adjacency, a place for adjacent views. The 1 minute's going to do it fast.
Yeah, each cohort have their own support spaces, lounges, dining spaces. There's eligibility in the plan where you're always visually connected to the outside and always connected to the courtyards. One of the innovations from the co-design process was moving staff out from behind glass and putting them in a collaborative hub here so they can engage face to face with the consumers. These more intimate spaces with family rooms, they have direct access to a winter garden that is naturally ventilated, and skylights that is actually skylights, not lights, so you actually see sky as well. These bedroom spaces are almost identical to the prototyping that we did. It's an outcome of this. Consumer has full autonomy. They can control the interstitial lines. They have full control over lighting, dimmers, dedicated ensuite.
I know I've got 10 seconds, but I'll try to take 20. The other thing is this was had to be delivered in 2.5 years flat from master plan through, because the Royal Commission needed these fast. It's a modular construction. It's the first of type, never done type A construction module before in Australia, which is hospital type. So even things like the fireproofing designing had to be done first of type. We had to actually work with code authorities to actually design how to do this over multiple levels. That was incredibly challenging, but obviously what was really interesting about that process was everyone getting together and actually learning how to do something together. So Modscape did a great job on this one. But equally, we had to even think about how to actually get health amount of services in. It's better to bring this building to 2 pieces per floor. So if you do go there, you'll see it's very, very tall. But we worked really hard to dematerialise that. So this is a permanent building, it's not temporary, and we really worked really hard to use things like windows and hoods and elements to make it feel like a hotel. Yeah. So this is of that nature rather than of a nature.